Hello, viewers, and welcome back to the newest episode of the Doctor Who Spin the Wheel podcast. It's me hosting today. I got roped into this somehow. There's no Will or Andy today, but you are here with me, Mr. Michael K. Wilson, BA, and I do have two fantastic guests joining me today. Mr. Jamie Mario Bowser 494. Say hello, Jim. Excellent. Hello. And the Right Honourable, prestigious Alexander Grogan, LLB, is joining us today as well.
Hello.
He insisted on his full title. He's getting ideas above his station, but yeah.
Not congrats. The Right Honourable just yet.
Congrats, though. I'm honestly amazed at what you've been able to achieve, and well done. But unfortunately, it didn't save you from having to watch the episode we're reviewing today. So yeah, just to get into it, then we may as well pull the bandage off as quickly as we can and say that if you haven't heard on social medias or previous episodes, the episode that we're going to be reviewing today is the Jodie Whittaker classic, The Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos, the season 11 finale. Oh, it starts. I think it's probably safe to say up top that if you're a fan of the episode, no offense, but you might want to tune out. Certainly, I'm not going to crap on anything that anybody likes, and if you like it, I'm thrilled for you. I wish I could see something. I have things that I've clawed at to try to rescue it from a complete death of a score for me, but they're few and far between. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that all three of us not a fan of this episode.
I'm happy for anyone to like any episode. Most of the time I'm impressed if they like an episode. Like, I'm impressed by anyone who gets any mild enjoyment from the Web Planet.
Hey, I like that episode. Leave me alone.
I'm impressed.
I get such a lot of crap off Will, the co-host Will, for that one, but I like it. I can't help myself. So we'll jump over to you then, Xander, and say that how much did you love watching this episode?
Well, I have to admit I had to crack open a drink for this, I swear. I could not rewatch this episode with a fair judgment without alcohol. By the way, the Spin the Wheel podcast does not promote drinking. Please drink responsibly.
I'm jealous. I'm too young to drink.
Oh.
Well, this has been your legal PSA. Please drink responsibly.
I don't really drink, but honestly, I was tempted during the viewing of this.
This was just so bad.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. We'll get into it, but just to give you some background as to how we ended up reviewing this. Please. How we ended up reviewing this, it was we've had to change kind of the entire team that are recording this episode because both of the original guests dropped out. I forget if I was supposed to be hosting or if I'm a replacement because I just go where Will sends me. But yeah, it fell to me to kind of put some stories on the wheel that would get spun beforehand of the episode. And one of the guests that we were going to have on, who I won't name because curse his very existence, had watched Ranskoor of Kolos and said, "Oh, it's not that bad of an episode, really. It just doesn't work as a series finale. It's otherwise it's perfectly fine." And I read that and was like, I've only seen it once. I wouldn't mind giving it another look. Maybe I'll approach it that way. I'm very much a fan of the Whittaker Chibnall era, so you never know. Yeah, suffice to say that's utter BS. It's just not.
And the ransom note will be delivered by the Royal Mail. Never.
And that guest that was supposed to be on this episode was Mr. Chris Chibnall. No.
If you would like to save your beloved Joe Writer, please send £5 billion to Go Yourself, White Hart Lane.
Go get Chibnall a bodyguard to protect him from Mike.
The weird thing is, I've discussed kind of you guys' thoughts vaguely with Will on kind of in a third-party way, and I still think despite the fact that I don't like the episode, and I'm certainly not, spoiler alert, giving it a positive score, I think I'm the one who's going to be the most positive on it, so it's going to look like I like it because I'm probably, at this point it was, I think I left a quote to Will in the private chat that was going to be like, it's going to seem like the episode ends with me being like, look, there's some really nice glittering poly polish on that turd. So,
of course, you can feel free to leave their comments in the form of an objection, and I will contact them in due course, and we can add sentence to Mr. Michael.
But we'll kick things off with just a general sense before we start going into each other's kind of notes and scenes we liked and stuff. And start with you, Jamie, and we'll say...
Before we get to the episode, can we just... I know we scrapped news, but can we just briefly say rest in peace, Jackie Lane?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
Yes, R.I.P. to Jackie Lane, who played Dodo, the most unfairly underserved Doctor Who companion of the first Doctor. So
watching her, I think I prefer her to Susan.
Hot take for sure, but yeah, she didn't really get a chance to do much, and I've always kind of resented the way she was written out during.
Yeah, she was hypnotized.
Yeah, and then just disappeared in episode 2, never to return, which was sucky.
I love the War Machines. I adore the War Machines, but yeah, that exit is very poo.
Yeah, she disappears in episode 2, and then in episode 6 or whatever the last one is, it's just like, oh, it turns out she's going to stay. So, oh, well, okay.
If the woman was a 6-parter, I don't think I'd love it as much because it works well as a 4-parter.
Okay, episode 4. I can't even remember. But yeah, so no RIP to Jackie Lane. It's always sad to lose doctors and companions or anybody that's been in the show. So, yeah. But unfortunately, we have to pivot to something almost equally as bad as the bad news. So, yeah, just did you have any general thoughts on the episode before we go into the weeds of it, Jamie? Anything that you wanted to say?
Well, I used to call this the most boring finale, but not the worst. Rewatching it, I think it's become, for Modern Who at least, it's become the worst finale, and not just the most boring. Because honestly, rewatching Hellbent not too long ago, it did get slightly better. Like, the first third is actually really good, so it's got up to like a 3 out of 10. But this, the Battle of Unlimited Rice Pudding, is worse.
Yeah. The Battle of Radiators and Crumpets is not a great episode for sure. So
me and my mates, we always like give it funny. It's like one of my mates calls it the Battle of Stinky Socks.
Well, any joke's funnier than the recurring joke of calling the guy Tzim-Sha that Chibnall seems to think is absolutely hilarious. It was never funny once, but yeah. So, Mr. Xander, sir, what are your general thoughts about the episode?
Diabolical. Next.
Fair enough.
I abstain from comment. Let's dissect this.
Let's go.
Goofy frog.
Indeed. So no, the very first thing that I've said in my notes is that the dialogue is really painful, and it's clearly trying too hard. This is all kind of I was trying to deal with the writing first and foremost, and that's something that you can't really escape because it's throughout the episode pretty much. I think would probably be in universal agreement there. The dialogue not the best. No.
I don't remember 99% of the dialogue.
Well, the best example I can come up with is, and I discussed this with Will, I absolutely hate the fact that some of the biggest criticisms of this era, which I usually try to defend because I like sort of big chunks of it, some of the biggest criticisms that I always hear leveled are that the Doctor is really flighty and doesn't really know where she stands on a lot of things, and morally she's questionable. And Chibnall literally just has her out and out say that in the dialogue, which I do not understand the logic of that decision, where it's like, we're going to have to blow things up, but then Ryan complains that, you wouldn't let me blow up the sniper bots, and she just basically says, well, you and you, but just ignore my rules anyway, because they're all changeable.
Yeah, this is coming from the same woman who locked a lot of spiders in a vault and left them to suffocate to death back in episode 4.
Because that was the moral thing to do instead of just a quick, painless death.
Is it still death? Yes.
Yeah. It's just
There's a woman that's just like, I don't want you shooting people, and Graham, if you try and enact revenge on your dead wife, you can't travel with me. And then next it's a case of, dead spiders go wee.
Yeah, if I'm on the brink of death, I'd rather be shot really quickly instead of slowly suffocated. Just saying.
Yeah.
No, baby spiders.
If they're spiders, though, they deserve it. But anyway, no. The thing is, I don't.
Someone who actually defends arachnids in the UK for the most part. Well, maybe not for the most part. Yeah. Okay, I like it ironically, but
you don't get me started on that episode as well.
No, we're not reviewing that one. But no, that's just my point, is that there's a lot of kind of moral arguments, and I almost wouldn't mind if there was any consistency. But the sheer lack of any consistency, and then, like I said, the fact that the dialogue explicitly calls it out with, I just make up the rules as I'm going along, nobody cares. It's like, how am I supposed to argue that that's not what you're doing, Chibnall, when you literally have admitted it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, not the greatest, I think, in terms of that particular bit of dialogue. Let me just see.
In terms of dialogue, I can only remember 2 lines. Those 2 lines are the Doctor going, "Oh, congratulations! It must be so cool," and Graham saying, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" Except in the
Yippee-ki-yay, robot.
Yeah, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Anyway, never mind. That's the kind of
the Die Hard version where he says, "Yippee-ki-yay, melon farmer."
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon on the American TV edit, which makes even less sense. But, yeah, it's just not great. And then what was the other bit? Yeah, the other complaint that I hear a lot that I constantly find myself having to defend is that the Doctor delivers a lot of exposition, which, to be fair, I would say all the Doctors do to the companions or to fill in the audience, but there's a way to do it properly, and that way is not to have the Doctor meet somebody and then effectively spout out their Wikipedia entry back to them. So, like, when she meets the female member of the Ux, and she's like, "You're from the Ux. You're a dual race. There's only ever 2 of you." And I'm like, she knows. Why are you telling her this?
It would have made more sense if like, Yaz was there or something. It's like, that's an Ux. There's only 2 of them.
Yeah, have somebody to explain it to, but then just explaining it to somebody that I was genuinely waiting for the woman to turn around and be like, I do know this. You're describing me. Well, even if it was talking to herself, it's preferable to just like, "Oh, do you know who you are?" It would be roughly like me walking up to one of you guys and being like, "Oh, you're a human male." Yeah, I know. What to do with you? But yeah, I do think there's bits and pieces that I love, but I think in terms of the dialogue, just to wrap that up, I think there are some good moments, but they're almost all at the end of the episode, and they're kind of let down by the fact that they're parts of plot ideas that don't entirely work. So, for example, I love that kind of Graham steps up without having to resort to kind of murder and killing people in that regard. And I did, perhaps it was just Stockholm Syndrome, but I did kind of let out a laugh at sort of, "I shot him, but only in the foot. Don't tell the Doctor, she'll be livid," which I thought was, I thought that was amusing enough, better than most of the other things in the episode. And likewise, when Graham says he wasn't strong enough to kill him, and the Doctor replies, "You're the strongest person I know, well, one of the few." Again, brilliant dialogue, but it's the very end of the episode. And the same with
most of the audience is already out by then.
Yeah, completely. And it's the same with the big speech at the end. It's a fantastic speech about, travel, hopefully, and all the rest of it. But it comes so from out of absolutely nowhere that it's basically like, oh, crap, Chibnall was writing and remembered this was a season finale and had to write some kind of, full stop at the end of the season that he just quickly scribbled in. So it also falls kind of flat because of where it's placed.
I think most of us can agree that Resolution is the actual Series 11 finale. Because it feels more like a finale.
Absolutely.
Having a bigger and better villain, and also just feeling like it ties up all the remaining loose ends. Like it just, it's like, Yeah, it's the shame though is that then you don't get the symmetry which he clearly wanted, which I'm not overly fond of anyway, of having Tzim-Sha, as the sort of first and last villain and whatever. But again, I think that's a character that Chibnall thinks is way more impressive than he actually is, because he's just I hate that character so much. It's just like the Bating.
Yeah, well. At least the Pating aren't the focus of like the first and last episode is like the main, like this is the big threat. I mean, if you look at the season finales, they've pretty much universally featured like Daleks or Cybermen or the Master. I think I read somewhere this is the only series finale of the entirety of New Who that doesn't at any point have a returning monster from the classic series. And yeah, maybe they could have used something, but not a fan. But just quickly, just to move us along from there, did you guys have any thoughts on the sort of the dialogue in the episode and the writing, or not?
Well, I already said that I forgot 99% of it and only remembered 2 lines, and the rest was just boredom. It was just...
I have to agree.
Yeah. Do you guys think think I'm being fair about the sort of nice couple of moments at the end, or is it just like too little too late, or did you just not respond to them whatsoever?
Okay, I did I do have a positive. I quite like Graham in this. I just think I just think his stuff is actually quite good.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
And the ending is actually quite nice. So that's why this story isn't totally awful.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Graham's one of the better parts, but again, it also feeds into a criticism I have, because I have a note that it would be really nice to explore the potential moral dilemma that's presented of, like, is Graham justified in wanting to kill him because of him killing Grace? And even to the point of, like, I would have liked them to explore, is what ultimately happens to Tzim-Sha any better than killing him? Because it seems kind of worse. It's like,
I mean, we see Tzim-Sha ended up putting his hand to the glass, and I'm just getting vibes that it's going to be like the Silence from Series 6. He's going to find a way to break out of the glass because he's like this insanely powerful creature. I swear to God, if he brings him back in the next couple series, I swear, I'm going to look at it.
Tzim-Sha, I refuse to call him his joke name. If Tzim-Sha is the villain which kills the 13th Doctor, I think no one will like that.
No, it's not so much. I think that might have even been the plan at some point, and it's kind of a writer's trick of, like, that why Batman doesn't kill the Joker kind of thing, because then you can't come back time and time again. But even aside from that, I was like, are they making clear if this sort of stasis thing, is it just that he's held in stasis, or because they're like, the entire time I want you to think about Grace, and I'm like, so are you conscious? Is this, because that's like really horrendous if you're like hundreds of thousands of years just trapped but not able to move, like, just kill me. Do you know what I mean? But I get the point that morally it kind of frees Graham's soul, I guess, from having done it, and I do like that point. But again, a little bit of an exploration of some of these bigger concepts rather than just lip service might have been nice. But yeah, that's Chibnall all over. But I think that's another point that I did make when I was discussing it with Will, is that I think there's some really good concepts and stuff here that you could almost get a two-parter out of it if you actually took the time to explore any of it. You'd still probably have to do a script polish, but yeah, I feel like you either need to take something out to get it to 45 minutes or expand it so that you've got time to do more. Would you guys agree or no?
I don't think this story has enough meat on its bones to be 2 parts. If it was, it'd probably be even worse.
Fair enough. I'm just meaning from my perspective, it's kind of like the introduction of the Ux comes from absolutely nowhere. And the entirety of, like, again, this is something I've discussed with Will, but the fact that the entirety of what the episode is named for, the epic battle and stuff, happens off screen. Like, you don't see any of it. And that was our biggest, when we were discussing it, one of our biggest problems with the episode was that it does the criminal writing sin of telling and not showing. So everything that's happened, you just learn of as exposition and stuff in the dialogue, or flashbacks, and it's like, well, that's not how you tell a story. That's terrible, you know what I mean?
Who are you, George Lucas?
Well, yeah.
Younglings.
At least George Lucas shows you something, then explains it, as opposed to, like I said, it's so bad that he introduces these big ass concepts, like introducing the Ux and then having the Doctor explain them poorly, and introducing how Tzim-Sha ended up there, and then only finding that out, and that, the Earth Defense Force or whatever sent a fleet that were utterly decimated, but don't worry about that, we're only going to see the aftermath and the sort of ship graveyard. And it's like, there are some really cool ideas that you've just brushed over in favor of stupid crap, But anyway, so yeah, I think overall the plot as it was, I thought was a little bit confusing, and even worse than that, I think it's just not engaging at all. It completely didn't grab me. So, perhaps that relates to what you were saying, Jamie, about it being just a little bit boring, which I feel like it didn't have to be. It's the way it's written, but yeah, I was struggling to focus and to stay engaged.
It's not a little bit boring, it's massively boring.
I think it's just, I was checking the time every 5 minutes.
Yeah. I wasn't quite that bad, and I was waiting for sort of good things to happen, and like, well, if I focus, give it its fair dues. But like I said, it's just it doesn't engage you in any way, and that seems like a shame, because I feel like Chibnall is capable of that. He's written episodes that I really do like. I'm a huge fan of the episode 42, which I find incredibly engaging. But then I'm wondering if that's just the the kind of unique idea of, well, you're on a countdown, so things have to be tense.
Yeah.
I don't really like 42.
It's like the end of the world. I know that was written by T. Davis, but it's like they've got 30 minutes to make sure. Well, they've got 30 minutes to obviously watch the world burn, and then in the last 2 minutes, it's a case of race against the Earth and the sun, and that was a good episode.
Yeah, but it's all in the writing, because I've said that on my notes as well, is that even at the very end, when it comes down to the entire Earth's about to be destroyed, we've got a matter of seconds or minutes or whatever, the net's enveloping it, and I was like, so why does it feel like there's no stakes to this whatsoever? They're blatantly telling us outright, you know?
I remember seeing like someone talk about this episode, and they said that, you know, the way to make this story a lot better is you got this great big laser thing. It's engulfing the whole of Earth. Well, we know people on Earth. Why don't we cut to Yaz's family's reaction to this? It's like
exactly.
Just having them see like, what the hell is that, and just having it be brought up in later episodes as well. It's just like it feels like this story never happened, because like something like Resolution, you don't see you have to be like, oh, so scared. There was a great big laser sky and stuff. Did you not see that? Yeah, I saw it. I inadvertently prevented it. Or something like that.
I don't feel like the people on Earth would necessarily have known any different. I think that was more a visual for our benefit, and it never got that far. But at the same time, like you said, one of the scenes I actually do really love is that, because I love Yaz and everyone always whinges about having no character development, I love that she actually steps up, and it's like, if we take off these neural things, the planet's psychic thing or whatever will attack us. But she offers to do it, and like you say, she's like, well, you know what? For the Earth, I'll do it, and I'll leave myself vulnerable. And it's like, imagine if, like you said, Jamie, there'd been a scene of Yaz's family, and then you could actually reinforce like that's what she's doing it about, and give that some personal stakes. It would have
on Earth, where it cuts to everyone's like reactions to what's going on.
Exactly. I mean, I get it. Yeah, it's Earth and we're invested in it, or you would hope we were anyway. But like you say, it just feels so detached and distant that it's a bit of a shame that.
I think I was invested in it because I forgot that they were trying to take Earth until my rewatch last year.
Well, that's the thing, is that, again, the other note that I've got is that this entire plan of Tzim-Sha's doesn't make any sense. It's contrived as heck, and it, like, what's it about exactly? So he wants to shrink a bunch of planets, specifically, I think, those that have opposed the Stenza, and then just keep them. And it's like, is that it?
I think it would just be the quick finale stake or something. Just quick finale stake. So, shrink planets, yeah. It goes for Earth. Boom.
Yeah, but even that, it's not original, because you're copying things like the Stolen Earth, or heck, even...
I've actually got this in my notes. It's a case...
Yeah, go for it.
Hang on. Stole 5 planets, Daleks got there first. Cutting doors down, Daleks again. Ooh, you took out the cables that are keeping you alive. Cyber controller. Stop nicking ideas, Chibnall.
I didn't pick up on the cyber controller, but yeah, you're right.
Well, it's like when he's on that's helping him to breathe.
Whatever's keeping him alive, yeah.
Yeah, he takes the cables out to go after Ryan and Graham, and it's like, well, that's what the cyber controller did in series 2.
Yeah.
He's on his throne, and it's a case of the whole thing's blowing up, and he goes after the Doctor and them lot. He climbs the ladder.
It's fine to base a story off another idea, like, Haunting of Iliadiati is quite similar to Silver Turk, but it's like it's got its own things around it. But this is like a straight-up rip-off.
It's all about how it's written.
It's a blatant copy of some of the best episodes of Doctor Who, and it's like, no.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, but then I think, again, it's... Even if you're going to do that, don't be so stupid as to reference the better version of the same thing in your script. So, like, having the Doctor, like, literally...
Everyone's just going to point fingers at, like, okay, this is a story. This is a better version of the story.
Yeah, like... Don't have the Doctor actively say, like, oh, this TARDIS can manage it. We once toured the Earth back when a bunch of planets were stolen. I was like, don't bring up what you're nicking from. That just makes it worse. You're so brazen. You know what? It reminds me of what's played for a joke in the 10th Doctor's era when they're meeting Agatha Christie and it's a murder mystery, and then Donna responds with, that would be like meeting Charles Dickens and he's surrounded by ghosts at Christmas. And it's like, but that's at least funny, and it's different enough that you're like, I get the theme. But what you don't want to do is have the Doctor meet Shakespeare surrounded by witches, and then point out like this is just like that time we met Charles Dickens, and you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm getting bogged down a bit.
Oh yeah, Shakespeare. I once saw you on a screen once before. Right before looking at the Beatles playing Ticket to Ride and fighting off the Daleks.
Yeah. Anyway.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, in terms of kind of plotting of Tzim-Sha and whatnot, one of the things I wondered about, which the episode doesn't explain at all, is how exactly does he live as long? Like, does he just make the Ux do something to keep him alive? Do the Stenza naturally live for a long time? Because he points out he's been there for like 1,000 and something and plus 7 years.
3,407 years.
The thing which confused me is the Ux lived for a millennia, not 3 millennia. How are the same ones still alive?
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. And again, that's Chibnall all over for using it, really. So,
they lived for 10,000 years. I'd believe you, but a millennia, it seems like they only lived for 1,000 years, and it was 3,000 years jump. So, do they have kids who are exactly the same?
Well, how come they don't age? I mean, fair enough they live that long, but the fact that they both look... First of all, how are they clearly different ages anyway, if they're supposed to come into existence and die at the same time and whatever? But yeah, I mean, while we're talking about it, the whole idea of the Ux, I absolutely hate, because they're Deus Ex Machina, the species. It's just literally, he needs somebody to be able to invent whatever you want, so he... And it's what the issue I have with a lot of things, apologies, Will, but in the Moffat era where they try to explain it away, and it ultimately comes down to, it's just magic, shut up. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I agree with you, and I love the Moffat era.
Not all of it, but it's like, if you're going to give an explanation that works, fair enough. But then, like I said, something like the Ux is so brazen that it's like, how can they just create stuff out of nothing? They just can. They're just a race that does that. But you can't just invent
an episode out of nothing.
Well, exactly, but that's just it. It's like, you can't just invent something to solve every one of your writing problems and then just say, well, they can just do it, shut up. Do you know what I mean? They're far too convenient, and then even then, the idea that this all-powerful race are just gullible enough to be tricked by the Stenza, and, you know, it's all too ridiculous. It just doesn't hold up. Even its own internal logic just kind of falls apart. And yeah, I struggle to understand, like I said, what his motives are if he's lived for 3,000 plus years, and yet at the end of it, he's just going to capture a bunch of planets that are going to be ornaments somewhere. Like, but what, is he just going to spend the rest of whatever his lifespan is dusting his ornamental planets and being pleased with himself? He's been staying for 3,000 years. He's still salty. Yeah, exactly. Like, how does he even remember who she is at this point? He met her once 3,007 years ago, and he's like, I will never forget the time. Dude, chill.
I thought you were I thought you had longer hair. No, it was the show. I thought you had different clothes. I got a new jacket. I mean, that's say that, right?
It's so stupid because, again, it's just... Anyway. But yeah, as I said, there are things that I like. I liked Yaz stepping up, and I liked, as you said, Graham, I think, is good in the episode, and I like that he morally does the right thing, even though it's almost by accident. But one thing I didn't like, which relates to kind of like feeling like there's no stakes and that there's no real value for the lives that were saved on Earth, is that why did he make the decision that all the members of the planets that had already been captured are all dead? Because it's like, it's supposed to be an epic triumphant moment when the Doctor reverses the thing or whatever, and then all the planets go back to the right place in the universe. And I'm like, it doesn't matter because all the people from there are still dead. It's just so stupid because, like, well, the balance is back to normal in the universe because we put the planets back. Yeah, but there's no point. They have no population anymore. You haven't done anything great. So... I'm very aware that I'm talking a lot and you guys haven't really said a lot, so I want to give you a chance to jump in with any notes that you've got. And
all right, this story is too basic to be a finale and too boring to be enjoyed as a standalone story.
Yep, I would agree. I'm not going to disagree with that one. What about you, Xander? You seem very vitriolic about the episode in discussing it, and yet it seems like you almost don't even have the wherewithal to have bothered making notes because you just couldn't be asked.
No, I have. I made a whole document of notes. It's just this episode is so crap. I don't really want to talk about it. Here we go. So apparently the translation of Kolos means soul disintegration, apparently. Disintegration of the soul. That's what I felt like watching this.
Nice.
The battle of the disintegration of the soul. Thank you very much.
Yes, that was
so
season 11 target.
Apparently, the planet has the ability to change your moods to the extreme, and it's like it gives you selective amnesia, and you want to kill people.
Because you need it to. Exactly. Like, that's not a bad idea within itself, but that's the point, is that Chibnall puts a hat on top of a hat because he needs all these things to be convenient for his plot. So, yeah, fair enough, the planet psychically attacks you and whatever. On its own, that's fine, but the planet does that. It's the same planet where the Yuks live, who can create almost anything. It's the same planet where Tzim-Sha coincidentally just randomly ended up when the Doctor knacked his device or whatever. It's the same planet that the 9th Fleet of Earth or whatever are well aware of and trying to attack.
Of the 9 planets.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, just, it's too much. It's too many, like...
Yeah, I mean, I side at that. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So it's like an interplanetary version of the UN.
Well, I'm fine with that because that's happened before. I mean, you've got versions of that even as far back as the Daleks' master plan. But again, if you're going to introduce a concept like that, show it.
The Daleks' master plan is infinitely times better than the story.
Exactly.
The Daleks' master fucking masterpiece.
That's because the Daleks' master plan has some really cool aliens and stuff making a conference.
And it's missing.
Instead of freaking Mark Addy just telling you that, I had a whole fleet of people, but they've gone.
The Daleks' master plan is like 10 times the length of this, yet I was not bored once with the Daleks' master plan. I was bored the whole time through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get the point of focusing on like Mark Addy's lost memory or anything as well, because if you're going to do that, at least make the resolution of it, no pun intended, something that's actually interesting as opposed to just like, I remember now.
Like 2 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, it is. It's just like, I remember now. I had a crew. Oh, there they are. Oh, yeah, we attacked him and failed. Like, what?
Oh, yeah. I forgot because it was really stupid and I didn't care to learn it. Because there were a lot of stupid sidecast names. Like, the only one I wrote down because it genuinely made me laugh, ironically, was Umsang. Umsang. the one who got killed on the screen. Umsang.
Oh, yeah, which again came from absolutely nowhere and seemed not to matter remotely within about a second of it happening. So stupid. But yeah, I mean, the wasted Mark Addy, who I've seen do decent acting and stuff, why is he there? It doesn't make any sense. Again, it's just kind of like you can have, it seems like it's so you can have the triumphant moment of, we rescued the crew of that one ship. I was like, yeah, there's like 40 other ships out there whose crews you didn't save and 5 planets. Don't pat yourself on the back, you know? But,
good. Not.
Anyway, carry on, Xander. Did you have any other kind of notes? Because I just interrupted you again there.
No, it's fine. Let's say one of the main things as well with it is that, that the Doctor's saying, like, if you kill, you can't come with me and everything. Yeah. And I was reading that and I was thinking, well, how many people have you let in the TARDIS who have killed? I mean, you've got Leela, you've got Jack, you've got Rose, you've got Mickey, though we don't mention his name.
You've got Jamie.
Then we got the Doctor themselves. I mean, Jesus, 2 incarnations committed genocide. So how exactly would you not allow anyone in the TARDIS to travel with you by killing, and yet you just commit genocide?
Barbara killed an innocent creature in the rescue.
Yep, Barbara. There you go.
I would have gotten rid of her if I found out about that, though, because that was just heartbreaking.
See, again, that's one of the things that it relates to what I was saying, in that I would be fine with it and I like the idea, but it would be nice if it was consistent. And if they don't point out in the dialogue that it's inconsistent, because like I said, it's not far after that she's like, oh, don't mind me telling me your rules, they change all the time. I was like, so how is Graham supposed to take your threat remotely seriously then? You've just basically said like, oh, whatever I say, just ignore it, I talk shit. I mean, but anyway.
Speaking of the if you kill him, you can't let each other with me. I think all of the fam kill some of the robots.
Well, yeah, but they're robots. Again, if there was consistency and it's like, it's fine, but yeah.
It's robophobia, as the Doctor said in Kablam.
Oh gosh, that's my point. There's so much inconsistency, but yeah, it's so stupid. I don't. It bugs me because there are things about the Doctor's character that I really respond to that are written here, but they're either contradicted within the episode or just make no sense in context. So. Anyway, carry on, Xander. Drag us through this one.
No, that's actually it.
All right. Cool. Right then. My turn, I guess.
Yeah.
I always forget that the robots from the Ghost Monument come back.
Yeah, they're shit. The sniper bots are just bad.
Boring.
I feel like they were only added in to be like, oh yeah, this is a proper finale. We're not just referencing the opening, we're referencing multiple episodes in the series. And it's like, just throw the robots in there.
But again, though, if I may interject, don't build them up as like, oh, it's these guys who are a really cool threat, and then have them defeated by something as stupid as just duck and they'll shoot each other.
I mean, that is a clever plan, but it's like...
It's not clever at all. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's not.
They're called sniper bots, like snipers who are trained to be a crack exact shot, but they miss everything.
Yeah.
No. All right, here's a little... well, not really nitpick, just a pet peeve I have with not just this episode, just the Chibnall era in general.
Everything?
For me, I always feel like there's so many close-up shots. Like, it's probably just me, but it's like whenever Tzim-Sha is talking, we always have to be like an inch away from his face. It's like, I don't want to be this close. And it's like, time as children, I can count the number of hairs up Tecteun's nose. Put the camera back.
In the case of this episode, I think in the case of this episode, it's
is the weakest because there's too many close-up shots.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think in this episode it's because he's trying desperately, Chibnall and the director and everything, to be like, this guy is an epic threat, but he's not. He's a rip-off of everything from the Predator to the Hirogen from Star Trek, and it's like, he's not threatening whatsoever. The fact that you then have him effectively completely floored by a friggin' bus driver from Sheffield in one shot.
I think it said something that I feel more threatened by some human villains from classic or something. Like, I feel more threatened from Tagana the Warlord.
Yeah, by far. But that's the thing, just don't build him up. And if you're going to try to do that, at least give it a character that we've got some bigger history than one episode with. Like, you know, if it had been, some people would have complained, but if it had been Davros, for example, at least you've then got, all right, there's decades of backstory that have proven this guy to be a threat, so I believe it, as opposed to just, remember that one episode when he killed, like, one dude and got completely effed up?
It's actually a funny story. When I saw the Next Time trailer at the end of It Takes You Away for this story, and Tzim-Sha's voice played, I didn't recognize his voice, so I just randomly, like, my brain just randomly made a connection with something, and I thought it was Sutek for some reason. And like, when the next time, and then my dad said it was Davros for some reason. And then when they put the Next Time trailer on YouTube, I was like, oh, what? It sounds like Sutek or Davros. And everyone was like, nah, it's the Tooth Dude. Nah, it's Tzim-Sha. It's like, and so I pretty much already knew he was going to be back because everyone else could figure out his voice.
Yep.
Yeah, completely. But again, I just don't get it. I've said this already, but just to reinforce, what's his plan? What's his plot? Why does he live that long? Why have the Stenza suddenly got a bloody collective consciousness, or the equivalent of the Dalek pathweb, where the Ux can conveniently tap in and build everything they've ever invented somehow?
Tons of questions. Why is Doctor Who turned shit?
Oh, don't say that. People are going to be on us. We're going to have to make a 5-hour video. It's going to be a whole thing.
I mean, I will say that I am preferring Classic at the moment, but that's just me.
Yeah, likewise.
There's episodes that I really like. Like I said, the annoying thing is that I'm a defender of this era for the most part. And there's episodes in it that I like. But even I, watching this, I'm like, it doesn't work at all. And surely...
I'm with the middle ground of this era. I don't love it, don't hate it, just kind of indifferent towards it. And it's not my least favorite era. Graham Williams era is too. But yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't...
Going back to Tzim-Sha for a minute, because I keep forgetting it. I've just remembered it again. So
we have to remember him.
I just want to say now. Tzim-Sha, he isn't a bad villain in terms of...
He is.
He's a bad finale villain, but I was like, as a villain to introduce the new Doctor, I think he does his job. I think he works fine. He's like Prisoner Zero. Nothing too special. He's there, but it's mostly the new Doctor, which is part of the Woman Fell to Earth. You're not really looking for the villain, so I can excuse it. But he is not finale worthy. It's like as just a regular villain, he's fine. There's so many boring villains. He's just fine. But finale, nuh-uh. I haven't seen this bad of a finale villain since. Don't tell me. Was it Classic Who finale was a bad villain?
Well, to be fair, there's no really decent villain in Wedding of Riversong either.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Invasion of Time. I know the Sontarans are in it, but they're stupid and look disgusting.
Yeah. But no, see, I would disagree with you there without wanting to argue or to get into a review of Woman Who Fell to Earth, because I remember when I watched that episode, I hated the character even then because he's such a blatant rip-off of all these kind of sci-fi horror tropes, and he didn't impress me, and I don't think, and I hate being negative, because it's all somebody's job and somebody might like it, but I don't think the actor's very good either. Like how he got cast in the role, because I'm not feeling it at all. So the fact is, you've got a derivative character played by an actor who just isn't hitting whatever he's supposed to be hitting. And yeah, I remember being really disheartened watching The Woman Who Fell to Earth, because I was like, oof, this is the first thing Chibnall's created on his own in his own era, and it's crap. Yeah. And then you have to wait so long in Series 11, because I was thinking that the entire time. I was like, yes, he's made the commitment of no returning monsters and everything, but if you're going to do that, at least make your own monsters memorable. And in my opinion, I know people would even disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, the first monster I thought was decent wasn't until the Morax and the Witchfinders. And that's like virtually the end of the season.
I mean, I mean, the first villains I liked, well, they technically weren't even villains. It was the Kablam men. I thought they looked quite cool and quite creepy.
Well, that's the thing. The best things he invents aren't villains. The Thijarians in Demons of the Punjab are really cool, not villains.
They look cool, but then
the main villain of that story was Minesh, the bloke. And Demons of the Punjab is a good episode.
I love that episode. Yeah.
Oh, when you think he's got his hang on it, the new villains, the Dregs suck. Sorry, they do. I think they're awful.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, this is probably a hot take, but I never clicked with the Skithra.
I don't mind the Skithra. They're fine.
I just don't like them. Again, close-up shots again. The Queen Skithra are always like an inch away from her face. That's the main thing I remember.
Yeah. The Skithra, though, are a great example of my point in terms of the actor, in that the Skithra aren't great, but because you've cast Anjali Mohindra, and I think she gives a fantastic performance in the lead of that species, that almost saves...
Because we're always an inch away from her face.
But that almost saves the performance and the sort of generic sci-fi idea, because it is the Rachnos, as everybody points out. But because you've got a good actor doing that, then it works. So again, this guy playing Tzim-Sha, like, at least recast him or something so that we give a crap, But yeah, anyway, I think I've went through almost everything in my notes.
I put down that the "congratulations, it must be so cool" line is good because it's good gift material. Because I like using it.
I don't even recall the line you're talking about, to be honest.
I think it's like when the Doctor meets the Ox after the dictionary definition. It's like, oh, congratulations, it must be so cool.
But yeah, don't like the Ux. They might have been an interesting idea, but they're too much. They're kind of god tech given form, and they're a Deus Ex Machina. I don't like them. I don't like that Chibnall insists on callbacks to things in his era that didn't work, that I didn't like in the first place. So I didn't like the Stenzer. I didn't like the sniper bots. So of course I'm not excited that they're coming back. It seems like, like, read the room, Chibnall. The plan and the plot are still stupid as heck. The idea that he falls into the cliche of when he's unplugged himself from the cyber controller thing, he starts monologuing his entire plan while he's running. I'm like, dude, you're not threatening when you're doing crap like this. It doesn't work. I don't get also why he kept hostages, random hostages from that one ship. But again, that's just plot that doesn't seem to matter, I guess, at this point. Yeah, because like he's destroyed the inhabitants of almost all the planets, and then it's like, but I'm keeping these, like a dozen people just as trophies. Why? That's the ultimate question. To a lot of this episode, though, the ultimate question is just why? Why or how? You can't explain that because it doesn't make sense. But yeah, on a positive note, I did like Graham and Ryan's interactions. I thought they were decent. And again, I liked the things that I already shouted out. I liked that Yaz steps up and gets a bit of development. I liked the ultimate resolution between Graham and Tzim-Sha, and his ultimate decision and the way that's written in dialogue. I like the Doctor's dialogue at the end, but it's still a damp squib ending, especially for a whole season, would be what I would say. And yeah, it's just really, really poor. So that's effectively my conclusion. So before I give a score or anything, which one of you guys wants to go first with anything else you've got to say and any conclusion you might have?
Well, the last thing I have to say pretty much leads directly into my rating and stuff, so I'll hold off for a minute.
Okay, well, yeah, fine. And what about you then, Xander?
Crap episode still.
you have any other grievances you wanted to
Nope.
air? Nope. I can tell because you're like I was when I had to review The Big Bang, which again I know it's controversial, but I just don't like. And I had so much that I didn't like, and I just couldn't be bothered. I was like, I just can't even be bothered to think about it. I just didn't like it. It didn't work for me at all in any way, shape, or form. But so yeah, I may as well jump in then, and I'll give my quick. As I said, that was effectively my conclusion. That there's a couple of things that save the episode, I think, from being. That save it from being in the forest of the night, let's say, where there's things I was.
Don't talk about that episode in front of me.
That's also crap. In the forest of the shite.
It was the worst, but then the web planet came along and made it second worst.
I can't believe you. But no, so I don't think it's as dead boring and stuff like that. And there's a couple of scenes that I have interesting things that I try to latch onto. And I think Jodie's acting is really good for large portions of the episode, especially with what she's given, which is crap. But all of these are things that can't detract from the fact that it's just not an enjoyable experience, and there's too many glaring and obvious flaws for any writer who isn't aware that he really needs help or a second pass at the script or a co-writer. So I've actually gone slightly down on this from when I first rewatched it, because originally I was going to say a 2.5 out of 10 would be my score. But honestly, the more I've kind of thought about it since, I'm taking the 0.5 away. I'm just going to say 2 out of 10 for the couple of scenes and the little moments that I did like. And even then, I got a feeling I'm probably going to be the most positive on this at the end of the day. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a 2 out of 10 from me. So, Jamie, did you want to give your conclusion and your score?
I was way too generous on this when I rewatched it last year. How the flip I gave it a 4 is just beyond me. That is way too high. I must have been drunk or something. I don't know. Maybe there was enough death because I watched it for the video showing all the deaths in one news. So I was just like, okay, there's enough death. It works, I guess.
Not fair.
That sounds really morbid. Oh god, no. Basically, the Graham stuff is good and wraps up him and Ryan's arc well. Everything else is shite. That's just putting it simply. Before rewatching this episode for the second time, I only had one episode which was a 2 out of 10. That being Dinosaurs in a Spaceship. Now there's 2. This is.
Why do you hate that episode?
It's not great, but it's not 2 out of 10.
I hate Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, okay? The only reason it's a 2 and not a... Like, I rarely give things a 2. It's either a 3 or a 1. But, like, 2... I only gave Dinosaurs a 2, mostly because of nostalgia. And I give this a 2 because the Graham stuff is actually good. But, geez, both of them are so boring. And I just was so close to falling asleep on both of them.
Well, we're not reviewing Dinosaurs, but I would disagree with you on there. I don't think it's boring. I think there's actually too much...
Please.
No, I'm not going to do it. But
podcast of the web planet, by the way. I refuse to join that one.
That one will just be me singing its praises. But no, I think my issue with Dinosaurs on a related slight tangent is that there's too much going on and he's trying to do too much, as opposed to it being boring. But yeah. Then again, there's moments of that in here, like I said, where they're trying to introduce lots of ideas and stuff. So, and yet somehow it ends up being boring. So I can't say you're flat out wrong, I guess. But yeah, so that's a 2 from me and a 2 from you, Jamie. Xander, I can't wait to hear this.
I've been in LLB for literally 5 days, literally, because I got it from Tuesday. And by God, I have never seen an episode that is so bad that I have ever had to pass sentence of a 0 out of 10. This episode deserves to rot in jail with a life sentence with no chance of parole. Send him down.
Oh, I don't believe anything's a 0. There's got to be something.
I don't think anything is 0. Like, even the worst thing of the web planet, at least the scenery looks nice and everyone and the main cast can act.
Yeah, I did say, I think...
Capaldi has one good line. And again, it looks nice. Like
I'm not gonna pile on to you if you think 0 out of 10, fair play. That's your sentence, as you said. But
me personally, I never give anything a 0.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably give it at least half a point just for the fact that I forgot to mention that I think the special effects and the way that the episode is filmed in HD and stuff is at least looks kind of pleasant. But
I do like how it looks, but this is coming from somebody who thinks the Capaldi era looks better than the Chibnall era.
Well, fair enough. It's all opinions, but yeah. So working out the average then of 2, 2, and 0.
Oh god, 4 divided by 3, really? Oh god. 1.33333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333333
So, the Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos then from the Spin the Wheel podcast gets a fantastic score of 1.3 out of 10.
1.3 recurring out of 10.
Well, we'll round it down as well. So yeah, I think suffice to say that's probably going to be the lowest rated episode we've ever done. Lower than
And
even the really.
I mentioned in time.
I know exactly.
I rewatched that for my birthday with some of my friends, and it was the funniest thing we've done in a
It's
while.
fun. I mean, Dimensions in Time is trash, but at least it's fun and entertaining.
A negative 10. A negative 10. It's like ironic enjoyment. It's ironically beautiful.
Yeah, fair enough. But no, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything can ever top this. Probably isn't the right phrase, but do worse than this.
I mean,
yeah.
even with the West Planet, you would probably give it a 7 or something, and it would bump it up.
Yeah, oh yeah, I would give it a 6 or a 7 easy. Yeah, definitely. There's very few. There's a chance that if I was forced to review In the Forest of the Night or even The Eaters of Light, that I might be coming close to Xander's zeros, but we haven't come up with those yet. So
again, don't have me on In the Forest of the Sharks, please.
I don't know if I'd be able to do it, but yeah, I feel bad for making people watch this episode. And again, if you like it, fair play to you. Like I said, there were things I clawed onto that I did like, and if you feel like you want to defend it, I'd love to hear it, because it's always nice to see somebody got something out of something, even if you didn't. But I think it's safe to say all three of us here, not fans. Xander actively wants to burn every copy of it in existence. So that'll do it for us.
You're not having PS4 because I have a copy of it on iPlayer.
Oh, well, fair enough. But yeah, so I was supposed to make a point here that we would normally spin the wheel for the next episode, but we have a schedule of a bunch of episodes that are almost back-to-back recordings, so we've had to already spin the wheel in advance. The next episode, therefore, has been decided. We're recording, I'm not on that one, but I believe it's being recorded tomorrow from where we are now. And the episode that they're going to be reviewing is The Mind Robber.
They get a good episode.
Yeah, they do.
The Mind Robber's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. And we'll swap out this one to be able to
watching the Battle of Rice and Beans.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't think I would ever want to revisit this one anytime soon. So yeah, it just remains for me to say I thank you, I guess, for joining us, and perhaps even more.
I'm going to go back to editing my heart ranking, but yeah.
Even more appropriately than thank you, I'm sorry. Maybe would perhaps be the best thing. But yeah, it's always good to hang out with you guys and talk to you, even if it's something terrible. So thanks for joining us. Did you want to leave any information about where people can follow you or find your hot takes on the?
Don't bother following my Twitter. I left it a long time ago for the greater good. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mario Bowser 494.
It's pretty good.
Working on a big Heartnell ranking video, which hopefully will get loads of views.
Yeah, not from me if you're going to give the Web Planet less than a 5.
Have you got?
Yeah, well, anyway, well, that'll probably all get cut out. But yeah, so let me just quickly wrap everything up here and say thanks, guys, for joining us if you have listened all the way through this. And yeah, join us next time for a review of The Mind Robber. And I'm sure that if you keep an eye on our YouTubes, you'll be seeing Xander and Jamie around our various podcasts and quiz shows and things again. So again, thanks for joining us, fellas, and catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.